Good afternoon, and welcome to Thriving Tuesday Moments of Encouragement, or TTMOE at 3:13, give or take a few moments. Sorry for the delay on today. I've been at a conference on today that was very enlightening and was running a little bit late. So I pray that all of you are well. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for speaking. Good to see each of you. Lady Clarice. Good to see you, Auntie. Good to see you, Miss Bev. Sunshine, glad you're here. Deljon, glad to see you. And everyone else who is here that may not have spoken. For there are several of you here on today for the beginning, and so I'm very excited about that. Today we are going to talk about what it means. Hey, Britt. Hey, Reverend Katrina. Hi, Sister Benson. Good to have you. Miss Linda, hi. Hey, Tam. Today, we really want to talk about what it means to seek understanding. The Proverbs says, Proverbs 4, 6 and 7, I think it's both 6 and 7, it says, wisdom is the principal thing, but in all thy getting, get an understanding. And often when we hear that, we go back to understanding in our own minds. But I want to remind us that in Proverbs 3, it tells us what? To trust in the Lord with all our heart and lean not to our own understanding. So this get an understanding isn't about our minds. This understanding is about our hearts. And we've got to seek understanding in the heart. For when we only get it in our mind, it can be easily derailed, easily thrown out, easily in a place where when we say, I understand, that we're understanding from a place that is temporal. But heart understanding locks in. This is Black History Month, and so we often talk about how legislation may have desegregated. Legislation may have quote unquote integrated, but if it didn't happen in the heart, it didn't happen. It may have happened on paper, but the struggles we still face means that it really didn't happen in the heart. For when we have had transformation in the heart, it shows up on the outside, not as placating, not as doing what's expected, but it comes from a place where we can see the authenticity of the transformation. So when we're seeking understanding, we're seeking a heart understanding. We're seeking a heart understanding of one another. We're seeking a heart understanding of God and what God is doing in this season. Hi, Miss Lucy. Hey, Tamala. I'm trying to make sure I said hello to everybody. Glad that you are here. How do we seek understanding? I'm grateful for the graphic for today. Thanks, Britt. Where it tells us that it's a word search because it's something we're seeking. You know, those of you who do word searches, you got to look through and see how the patterns form. And then when you find the pattern that fits the word, you know you can circle it. But a lot of times you'll see letters that connect that seem to be the word you're looking for, but they don't pan out. It doesn't go all the way through. And that's how it is in our lives. Sometimes we are seeking understanding and we see parts of it that make sense, but then we run into a roadblock because our experiences, our lives, our struggles, our issues get in the way of our heart understanding one another, our heart understanding the things of God. We must remember that the things of God are different. God doesn't think like us. Ways are not like ours. But if we're trusting in God, we've got to seek understanding in our hearts. Seek understanding from a place where we know that in our heart of hearts, that even if it doesn't make sense to my mind, if God has brought it to me, if God has brought it to my life, then I have to be still long enough so that God can speak to my heart, so that I can understand in my heart, even if I don't like what it is God is doing. We're not going to always like what God is doing in our lives. Sometimes what God is allowing to happen in our lives makes it really difficult for us, even as believers, even as people of faith, because the truth is we really do want things to always go well. But we know that our faith is not exercised by things always going well. Our faith is exercised by the struggle, by the friction, by the building up of our spiritual muscles. So sometimes it isn't what we want, but we got to seek heart understanding in order for us to continue to move forward, for us to not get derailed, for us to not get sidelined, for us to not throw in the towel. We must seek an understanding in our hearts so that our souls can stay at peace. Far too often we are lacking peace because our souls have not sought understanding. So while we wrestle with things, we go through situations and struggles. The wrestling we go through is important because it builds us up. It builds us to a place. The heart's the biggest muscle in our body, but it's also the largest thing that we have to contend with in our spirit life. How is our heart? How well is it with our heart? How well is it with our soul? So we've got to seek the understanding that only comes from one source. We got to seek understanding that comes from God through the Holy Spirit. Because the Holy Spirit will keep us in all things, will bring us into peace even when there's chaos. But we've got to seek understanding, not only from one another, but like I said, from what God is doing. Well, let me talk about seeking understanding from one another for a moment, because we spent some time on what it means to seek understanding from God. But we've got to recognize that each of us comes from a different place. Each of us comes from a different set of experiences. Each of us has a life that may not be the same as anyone else's. Our lives are different. Our imprint on life is different. So I have to seek to understand where you are and to not get thrown by the fact that we may not be in the same place at the same time. We may not be on the same page, but that doesn't mean that I can't seek to understand and coalesce and work with you. We must learn that we will have differences, but our differences should not be so insurmountable that we can't find a common place of understanding. We must learn to understand each other, young and old, no matter what our station in life is, those who have not, those who are living life with one set of values, someone who may be living with another. We can't stop seeking to understand everyone. There are people on the margins whose lives have been so difficult that those of us who've been sheltered, and you may have been through some things, but you haven't been through those things. So therefore, there may be some sheltering, some favor that's come to your life that didn't come to someone else's life. We've got to seek to understand where they are, to sit ourselves in their seat, to walk in their shoes at least long enough to seek to understand why they do what they do, why they think, how they feel, and then be still long enough to allow the God of understanding to help us to understand one another. For when we seek understanding, we can get beyond our differences. We can get beyond the things that would keep us apart. Yes, radiance. Yes, sunshine. We can get to a place of empathy and altruism, and we can care for one another right where we are. What a lesson that is for the church, as well as for those of us who call ourselves children of God. So as you go forth, I'm not going to keep you much longer, but seeking understanding became very real to me over this weekend. A lot of things were going on, and A lot of things that made sense to me didn't make sense to other people. And so I had to be still and sit still and ask God to give me compassion where I wanted to be jaded so that I could seek understanding in the natural and in the spirit. And I'm grateful that God showed me so that I could approach the situation with empathy, yes, and with altruism, yes, with clarity, but also with heart. So I'm encouraging you to be still, to not jump to conclusions, to not decide that you know what's going on and not have clear understanding. Seek understanding from God. In all you're getting, get some understanding. Some of us are very wise, very wise. We're wise in the things of the world, or we're wise in the things of the spirit. But in all our getting that wisdom, we also have to get understanding. And sometimes that means we have to look through a different lens. May God bless and keep you. May God bless and keep you as you are still long enough to seek understanding. To seek understanding from God, about God, but also to seek understanding about one another. For when I understand in my heart, then I can receive even that which I don't understand with my mind. Heaven smile on you. I pray that this word blessed you, so please bless someone else. Please share. Because until we begin to seek understanding from God and one another, we're going to find ourselves in this maze of going around and around and around, trying to find relief from the tension and the pressure that the carnality of this world has presented us. But when we leap over that and choose to understand, choose to seek to understand one another, then we can help through the power of the Holy Spirit to turn this thing around. God bless you is my prayer. Seek understanding and be encouraged. See you soon.